Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. Hey everyone, so for various reasons my recording setup today is quite a bit different, so please bear with me. That being said, it seems like we also might need to bear with Wizards while they try to decide what they're going to say to the community with this whole, well, let's just call it a situation. Because this morning, with this situation, even more proof comes out that they might not have been entirely truthful about one of their recent products. So Wizards, it is most definitely time for you to come clean to the community and yeah, just start being more transparent and honest with everyone, please. Now, if you're not familiar with this situation, I'll get you up to date quickly, and I'll go through this new proof that came out as well. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So earlier this week on Monday, the Commander Precon deck lists were finally revealed, and the new cards in those decks as well. And with that deck list revealed, something somewhat comical came out about one of them, in that essentially, well, the Upgrades Unleashed Precon deck, made by Wizards, the official Precon deck, is not a legal Commander deck. Again, obviously, Commander is a singleton format, so you can't have two of a card, and well, Wizards made a little oopsie, and it appears that there are two Mossfire Valleys in the deck instead of just one. So yeah, technically not a legal Commander deck, even though it is an official Wizards Precon, that they printed. Now, I've said this before multiple times, and I will say it again. If someone is playing this Precon and, plays it without adjusting it and doesn't realize, there's two Mossfire Valleys in the deck and plays both of them, do not tell them that their deck is illegal and that they lose the game because they're breaking the rules. It's not their fault, clearly. And this very well might be a new player that is playing this Commander Precon, and this might be their first Magic product ever, and they might not even have a card to replace one of the Mossfire Valleys. So everyone, please just be reasonable and be kind, and yeah, you know what, if that is a new player that doesn't have any other cards, maybe, offer them a card to replace the Mossfire Valley so their deck can then be, legal. I know the vast majority of people out there are going to be reasonable about this, but I just want to put it out there, okay? And speaking of putting it out there, Wizards actually put out an editor's note with the deck list that said, the Upgrades Unleashed Commander deck was inadvertently printed with 2 copies of Mossfire Valley instead of an additional basic land. Players wanting to play the deck in Commander should swap out the extra copy of Mossfire Valley for a basic land or the land of their choice. So at the end of the day, yeah, mistakes happen, not really all that big of a deal. You get an extra copy of a Mossfire Valley, and the vast majority of players out there can swap out a basic land for that or something else, and yeah, again, really not all that big of a deal. But just so that we're on the same page with Wizards' official statement on this, they said that they accidentally printed an extra Mossfire Valley instead of an additional basic land. But as this week went on, that didn't seem to necessarily be the case. Because on my most recent episode, I talked about, well, a card image that came out that kind of tells a different story about what might have happened. Because in the official card image gallery for these new Precons, well, there was a card that did show up on the list and then was taken out of it. However, although the card was actually taken off the official card image gallery, the evidence that it was there, well, still exists. Now, on the bottom of each of these cards, you can see NEC, which is the 3-letter identifier for the Neon Dynasty Commander Precons. And then right above that, such as on Kodama's Reach, on the bottom left, again, we see the NEC, and above that, we see 120, which is the card number in the Precon. Moving on to Loyal Guardian, we see it goes to 121, and these are supposed to go in order, but then we see Ordeal of Nylea, which we have 123. So clearly there is a gap between these two cards where a previous card had been. And again, that card was on the card image gallery before it was taken down, but the card image is still on Scryfall, and it shows up as, again, of course, 122, as you can see in the bottom left. And obviously, again, these cards are alphabetical, and this lines up again. Loyal Guardian, Nissa, and then Ordeal Nylea. Alphabetically, it fits as well, of course. On top of that, of course, the card fitting into the deck fits perfectly. I mean, the -2 is put a +1 counter on each creature you control, and yeah, this deck deals with modified creatures, and this just basically says, hey, all of your creatures are modified. And again, on the Scryfall page for this card, we can see, obviously, this card, for Neon Dynasty Commander, and that this is basically, a $3 card or so. So it appears that players were supposed to get this $3 card, and instead they got an additional copy of, Mossfire Valley, which of course is a 25 or 26 cent card. But of course, on top of that, recently we got some new proof. Recently on the official Wizards site, the article titled "The Tokens of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty" came out. And of course, in this article, they showed off the tokens of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. And in that article, we see that in the Upgrades Unleashed deck, we get these tokens. 1 Treasure/Smoke Blessing, 1 Goblin/Smoke Blessing, 1 Elemental and a Spirit, 1 Smoke Blessing and a Spirit, 1 Beast and a Treasure, 1 Spirit and a Treasure, 1 Plant and a Treasure, 1 Sapling and a Spirit, 1 Spirit and a Spirit, and 1 Phyrexian Germ and a Spirit. And of course, if you scroll down, you can see all the tokens, including that lovely Plant token. Now, this is relevant because Nissa Voice of Zendikar, that card that we talked about that was, not included in the deck when it appeared that it should have been, actually, the +1 on that Planeswalker is create a 0/1 green plant creature token. Obviously, on Scryfall, we can even see that the cards are now linked, again with that Nissa Voice of Zendikar NEC in the plant token TNEC, that's token for, Neon Dynasty Commander. And actually, the funny thing is that no card in the Upgrades Unleashed deck, the official Upgrades Unleashed deck that does not include Nissa, no card actually makes a plant creature token. So why in the world is there a plant creature token in the Upgrades Unleashed deck if no card makes it? Again, back to Wizard's statement with that editor's note. The Upgrades Unleashed Commander deck was inadvertently printed with 2 copies of Mossfire Valley instead of an additional basic land. So if that is what actually happened, then why do we have a numbered gap between 2 of the cards? Again, 121 into 123, 122 is missing, and we have an actual image of Nissa Voice of Zendikar that was in the card image gallery but then was taken down. It fits perfectly into the deck, again with that -2, getting a counter on every single creature you control, essentially modifying all your creatures when your commander benefits you for your creatures being modified. And also, again, the deck comes with a plant token, a 0/1 green plant token that nothing in the deck makes. However, Nissa, the card that is not included in the deck, but we have an image for and fits perfectly with all of these things, does make that exact plant token. Yeah, things are not adding up with Wizard's story. Now, mistakes do happen. Everybody makes mistakes. It doesn't matter who you are, everyone has made mistakes. But there is a difference between owning up to a mistake and apologizing for it and actually, trying to just sweep it under the rug and not tell people what actually happened and just having them actually figure it out on their own. I mean, did Wizards seriously think that players weren't going to find out about this when one of the tokens in the actual precon doesn't match up to the precon? These knocks against Wizards' credibility just seem to keep coming over and over again, and at this point it's not even surprising. Just be upfront and honest and tell players if a mistake was made, and you know what, that's okay. And I think at this point, players definitely deserve a response from Wizards on this, who has been quiet on the subject and has not addressed it. So at this point, their stance is still apparently, yeah, we accidentally printed 2 Mossfire Valleys, no big deal, it was supposed to be an additional basic land, so just replace it with a land. But clearly, even if that is a partial truth, that is not the entire truth, because again, Nissa and the plant exist. So did 2 Mossfire Valleys get printed instead of 1 Nissa in a Mossfire Valley? Because that does seem pretty likely, seeing as the plant is provided. And if so, yeah, by buying that precon, instead of getting the $3 card that was potentially supposed to be in there, instead you're getting a 25-cent card to replace it, which is not the end of the world. It really isn't. In fact, money really is not the problem here. The problem is a complete lack of transparency. Wizards just keeps diminishing their credibility with their player base again and again and again. And like I mentioned in that previous episode, this could have been turned into somewhat of a positive. Wizards could have been upfront and honest about the entire situation up front and said, here's how we're going to solve it. One solution is that they could have sent a ton of copies of Nissa Voice of Zendikar to every LGS and then said, hey, when someone buys the Commander Precon Upgrades Unleashed, give them this. And also just utilize other copies for store promos and, drive traffic to LGSs. Again, turn this into a positive thing. But what you shouldn't do is what it appears Wizards actually did is try to sweep this under the rug and just, either play dumb or assume that players aren't going to be smart enough to figure this out, which is just ridiculous. Again, Nissa's image showing up is one thing, but the plant token actually being provided in the precon and no card actually making that token, outside of what would have been Nissa, it's just ridiculous. Wizards, get your act together and be more transparent with your player base. At the very least, your player base that supports you by buying your products deserves honesty about your products. And to start that off, you need to come clean about this situation and tell players what happened and why you said the things that you said. The Magic the Gathering community deserves a lot better than what you are giving them. Be better.
And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.